Okay, so, hi, hello, welcome back to another Creepypasta story video. Today, Creepypasta we're going to be reading is called The Grinning Man, but before we get into it, I do want to say a few things. First off, this video is a one take, so if you do hear me stumble, mumble, fumble, and mess up my words, I am sorry. This is, as I mentioned, a one take. I don't really have any editing software to really do anything, so this is the best I can do. Also, second thing, I don't know how far this video is going to be, you know, posted or scheduled. But someone said my character looks like Wendigo, Wendigoon, and yeah, they bear a semblance. This is purely coincidental. Before I didn't have the beard, but I do have a beard IRL, so I had the beard, and I know this does look like Wendigoon, Wendigoon. So yeah, I'm not trying to take its flow verse by verse, bar for bar, but the game does not have any other curly hair options. So this is the best I can get to my real life hair. Second thing, please use code GOONS at GamerSubs.gg. GamerSubs is pretty much the equivalent of Kool-Aid for adults, so if you're interested in that, go check it out. The link is in the description. They have wonderful products, go check them out. They have a Moist Critical cup coming out soon for pre-order, and they have Bow, and I do believe an Iron Mouse cup, so go check them out. They're amazing. They're amazing. Okay, so sorry for that long intro, let's get into it. This creepypasta is called The Grinning Man. I have a story to tell you, but I beg you not to read it. Please don't. I know it sounds stupid, but by the time you understand why, it will be too late. I know this will not deter many of you, but without this simple warning to ease my conscience, I may not be able to go through with this, and I desperately need to go through with this. So let me start at the beginning. I have an old friend. His name was Joe. I've known Joe since grade school. I am now in my late 20s, and so is he. And he's been my friend for at least half of the time. I say that we knew each other pretty well after all of that time. This may seem irrelevant and uninteresting, but I have to stress this. I know him, and I know him well. What he did was, it was nothing he ever could have done without some outside influence. On the night of Friday, January 23rd, I was driving to his apartment to pick him and his roommate up. We made plans to go out and maybe hit a couple bars, and generally have a good start to the weekend. When I arrived, there was a number of police cars and ambulances outside the complex. I was, of course, curious, as I, like many people, rarely see such sights. As I got closer, I noticed a body covered in a bag in the street, surrounded by glass and no more than a few feet from a badly dented car. I'm rather horrified, coming to the conclusion that someone was hit by a car and killed right outside the complex. As I finished gawking, I made my way inside and up the stairs to the third floor. That's where my friend's apartment is. And that's where I found it wasn't a simple accident. The police were upstairs as well, talking to the residents and taping off one of the apartments. My friend's apartment. Panicked, I asked one of the officers what has happened, and why my friend's apartment was taped off. I told him I was supposed to be meeting them for drinks, and asked if they were okay. The officer told me that it appeared that Joe had butchered his roommate with a kitchen knife and thrown himself through the plate glass, sliding the door into the street below. I was a ghost. I was shaken so badly I could barely answer the simple questions that the officer asked me upon finding that I knew the victims. My mind couldn't process it. I knew him, and he will never do such an atrocity. It didn't make any sense. I made my way back to my car in silence and drove home as though on autopilot. I couldn't get the shock of it out of my head. My wife asked me what happened, and I explained it to her. She was as shocked as well, but she didn't know him like I did. I told her I needed a bit of time and went to my room. She let me be. Lost, I found myself at my computer. I'm not really sure why I did it, but I found myself checking his email. I know the passwords he commonly used, so it was hardly an issue to find the right one. I thought perhaps he had I thought perhaps he had friends online who I needed to tell. Or maybe I thought I'd find a window into what caused this. I really don't know. If I knew then what I know now, I would have never done it. I scrolled through his inbox looking for familiar names. Joe and I and several friends kept in touch online, and instantly I recognized several of those names in the last few days. The most recently opened email was what looked to be a spam email with an attachment and no other information. Curiosity got the better of me, and I opened it. The file itself was a picture, named nothing but a seemingly random string of numbers. It was simply a man, seemingly normal at a glance, but the longer I stared at it, the more disturbed I became. He stood there, staring, with a grin, sinister and unsettling, with eyes that were both vacant and focused at the same time. That terrible grin seemed to widen the longer I stared at it, and for a few minutes I was fixated at that horrible face. Eyes burning as they stared back at me with equal intensity. Finally, I tore my gaze away to find the only other thing in the email, a single word. A word that I can't repeat. Not yet. I need to tell my story. I couldn't take the sight of it anymore. I had to close it. The face was still looking at me. I swear I could still feel his grinning stare. As I went to walk out the email and put the horrid thing out of my mind, I noticed the time. It arrived. It was January 23rd, 5:35 p.m. We were supposed to meet at 6. He likely saw this less than half an hour before he died. For the next several days, I tried to get it out of my mind. I attended my friend's funeral and I tried to go on with my life, but I kept feeling uneasy. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt like someone was watching me. At night, I started to have unsettling nightmares. I couldn't remember much of them when I awoke, but they all had the same elements. That horrible grinning man. Blood, violence, and death. I couldn't get a good night's sleep. I was struggling at work, and I kept feeling tense and on the edge. I needed to know what was going on. It was hard to really know what to look for at first. All I had to go on was the same image and a single word that accompanied it. Grinning Man. It is hardly a descriptive search, and haunted grinning man or cursed grinning man wasn't really any better. Still, I did what I could do with my limited resources. I actually found a reference to it, or what I thought was it, on a website dedicated to conspiracies and paranormal things, and other things that I normally dismiss as utter bullshit. Still, this wasn't natural, and I was willing to try and open my mind to explanation. Since this seemed to defy anything conventional, what I uncovered about this grinning man was that it was an image that seemed to circulate among image boards and forums a few years back. The article said that the picture was harmless and if not a bit creepy, though I strongly disagree on the term "a bit." But it seemed that something about it, when coupled with a keyword that was unknown, could trigger extreme psychotic bouts, irritability, nightmares, and even hallucinations. It seemed so utterly stupid. Simple text and pixels causing such harm. And yet, I was sitting there, realizing that I was experiencing those same nightmares. Irritability, agitated, and hallucinations. Joe obviously experienced the psychosis, evidenced by his sudden murder-suicide. I was stunned. I thought it had to be a joke, just some kind of bizarre hoax, but I knew there was more to it than that. I knew what I was feeling, and I knew my friend. That picture and that word. It had to be the key word. What triggers everything? Oh God. Was this going to happen to me too? Was I going to try and kill my wife and then myself? I started to panic, but my rational mind won over. If it was just paranoia and hallucinations, those couldn't hurt me, right? They only had power if I gave them power. I decided that I will end this, put it out of my mind, and rationalize it away each time I felt it. That will be the end of it all. As much as my rational brain helped me through the day, it couldn't protect me at night. My dreams continued to degrade, ending in me walking in the middle of the night, cold sweats and heart pounding. I started taking sleeping pills, though I refused to tell my wife. I didn't want her to worry, though I knew she could tell something was wrong with me. The pills did nothing, though in fact, they seemed to make my dreams more vivid. I could remember everything when I awoke, everything horrible. Every bloody detail, the grinning face, the grinning, inhuman face. Then, I found myself I started sleepwalking. The first night, I woke curled in the bathtub, then in the kitchen. 3 days later, with a knife in my hand and the bloody remains of our black lab at my feet. I couldn't remember the next things that happened after that. I know that I cleaned up my dog. I hid him in a trash bag, and then I told my wife that he ran off in the night and got lost. I was terrified. I had no idea what to do. I tried to medicate myself heavily. I locked up all the knives in the house, and my wife knew that there was something terribly wrong, but I still refused to say anything. I don't even know if I could at that time. The only thing I can still remember clearly was the dreams. I was irate and easily spooked at the littlest of things. I thought it just had to be my nerves from all of this and the lack of sleep, but I remembered my friend, the website, and I knew that it was getting worse. The thing I remember the most about the dreams, aside from the horrible grinning man, is the emotions. I felt each death that was inflicted in a dream like that was real. Like it was my own hand disemboweling my friends, my family, and random strangers against my own will. Like each death, each vision of terror he showed me was not just a vision but my own work. Each horrible death in the dream made him grin a little wider. He wanted me to snap. He wanted me to become exactly what he was showing me. He wanted me to become him. So, I come here to tell you this because I'm desperate. I need help, you see. I can't bear the thought of harming my wife, the woman I love the most in this world. Yet, I know that is inevitable. He's always there, watching and grinning, knowing that I'm close to breaking, and nudging me ever closer to the edge. I know what he wants, and I can't let him have that. I don't know any other way out. I'm reaching out to you in the hopes that he'll leave me here. Maybe if you, the careless reader, who I warned away, will give him what he wants, he'll let me be. I have to try, and I don't know what else to do. I'm so sorry. I hope you can forgive a man for acting in desperation. Okay, so that was The Grinning Man. So hopefully y'all enjoyed that little story. I know I messed up a lot reading that one, but that's why it's a one take, so that's why I have the disclaimer. If you hear me stumble, mumble, fumble, and mess up my words, I am sorry. But no, yeah, that was Grinning Man. I honestly thought this was similar to the Smiling Man before, but it's not. But, you know, I still enjoyed it. So, hopefully y'all enjoyed the little creepypasta, and I think it was cool. So, I don't really have much else to say. All my links are down below if you want to follow me anywhere else. You'll find gamer subs there too. Use code GOONS, GOONS, to get 10% off at checkout. They do have a Moist Critical Cup coming out, and as I mentioned, they have the Bow of the Whale, and they have an Iron Mouse Cup coming out. And I think both of them are all three are the front and back covers, so you can see their butt, but I'm not too sure. And if you're interested in that, go check it out. They're pretty cool. And yeah. So I don't have anything else to say, but I do want to say thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for watching. It means a lot to me, so thank you for being here. I'll see you guys later. Bye, everyone.